Hello everybody, it is time. Welcome to the OS World Cup 2021 round of 32. It begins here, 32 teams duking it out for the biggest prize of the OWC Championship. I am Doomsday and I have the pleasure of casting this first game with us. But I'm joined by a very special person. This is someone who I'm sure you have heard if you have followed the tournament scene throughout this year. He's pretty much been the voice of every major tournament, Mr. Dio. How's it going, man? It's fantastic to finally get you on here.
It's a pleasure to be here early in the morning, 7 a.m. on Saturday. I am happy to be here, though. It is the first match of the World Cup. Like you said, first match of the round of 32. And we've already got an exciting one lined up for you. It's South Korea versus Ukraine. This match was famous last year. Ukraine, the underdogs, taking South Korea at top 8 in qualifiers last year to tiebreaker. And that match was a banger to watch. I'm hoping we get something similar this year. And with the improvement that the Ukraine squad has had throughout the year, I don't think it's entirely out of the question. They've got a fantastic roster on so many of the mechanics picks. They're definitely going to be able to contest South Korea on a lot of those picks. So I'm looking forward to how this one turns out.
Yeah, definitely a bit of deja vu on this one. And it's with it being one of the earlier rounds, it is absolutely the perfect time for Ukraine to be facing a team like SK. And, a lot of the same roster that played that 5-4 last year are returning. The majority of this Ukraine team coming back with a couple new additions as well. But that core that did the work last time, they're back again. And I'm sure they'll be taking some confidence from that result.
Definitely will be. This Ukraine roster, for those who don't follow community tournaments super tightly, has been just sort of all around the place even since last fall with GAF Season 7. They've just formed tons of different teams all throughout different 4v4 tournaments. So this is a team, not only that's gotten a lot of practice in all throughout the year for each of their members, but also has been teaming together a bunch all throughout the year, has been building that team synergy, has been building that confidence in each other all throughout the year. And that goes a long way in a tournament setting where you are more prone to nerves, like in the OS World Cup. And this is the one thing that I think this Ukraine roster is not going to be very good at, is those very control-focused, reading-based picks in the hidden modification. Definitely a solid band there and hidden one for their roster, but the vast majority of these other maps in the pool, they're going to be pretty solid on.
Yeah, definitely want to dodge the more control-based stuff. South Korea have a team that can pick apart players with weaknesses in that area for sure. There are plenty of maps in here that are very much all mechanics, pretty much nothing else, even if it is relatively conservative on the star rating. DT1 banned from South Korea. I think out of all the maps, that is the most likely one to see mass amounts of FCs. Do you agree? That DT1, very standard.
Yeah, pretty much. It's super comfortable all around. AR10, very comfortable BPM as well. And there's just not a lot of patterns in it that can trip players up, even compared to something like Nomad 1 this week or Hard Rock 1, where, in Hard Rock 1 you've got a lot more bursts, it's a little bit more old style, so a little bit slightly more awkward on the jumps. In the same case for Nomad 1, a little bit awkward on a lot of the jumps in that map. So DT1 being super comfortable definitely makes sense as the ban here from South Korea. Again, Ukraine, one of the best raw mechanics teams, and specifically on those DT aim picks, had a very solid score out of the qualifiers. I think top 5 on that map in quals. But this first pick from South Korea also definitely makes quite a lot of sense. They had a really fantastic run on Hard Rock 2 in the qualifiers. In fact, they were the #1 team on the CS 6.5 map in qualifiers. This one makes me wonder, as a little bit different from what we had in qualifiers, a little bit less finger control based, a little bit more almost DMV-esque, a lot of flow-aimy streams on CS 6.5 in this map, a lot of relatively comfortable jumps, but at a low BPM with some pretty high spacing in this one. So definitely South Korea, a solid pick for them after setting that #1 score in the qualifiers on Hard Rock 2. So I'm looking forward to see what kind of score they can put up on this one.
Yeah, I mean, they already had such a good score on the Hard Rock 2, but they were missing a key player in Karcher who didn't play. he's one of their key hard rock players for South Korea. And basically they swapped out the only player that didn't full combo for Karcher. This is a scary hard rock roster. Fantastic first pick. Definitely the most powerful pick they could have put out here. Thing is, Ukraine have had some pretty decent runs on precision hard rock. I remember, particularly last year, they clutched some key points on the small circle size hard rock. So they're capable.
I think to that point, one thing that makes them a little bit better on this map than on the one from qualifiers is that the qualifiers hard rock 2 pick was a little bit more finger control and aim control focused than this map is. This one is a lot more standard in terms of patterning. So with that in mind, I think that does do a favor to this Ukrainian team, who really start to shine when that patterning gets a lot simpler and isn't quite as complex in terms of the finger control or aim control. When they are allowed the chance to show off those raw mechanics, they definitely take that opportunity every time it's given. But first map of the match, first map of the tournament, we do see an early miss coming out of Doomsday Fanboy on the side of South Korea. Flying Tuna, Karuna, and Karcher still holding their combos. Kug, Dench, 1max, and Net Why Not all still holding the FCs for Ukraine at the moment as well.
I see what you mean when you're talking about the DMB style, and you're seeing those just 3-note, 5-note bursts here and there, sometimes 7-note, very DMB-esque. Very comfortable for the most part, apart from just the raw aim, of course.
While we were talking about that, by the way, we've got a 4-way break for this Ukrainian side. Kug, Dench, 1max, and Net Why Not all finding breaks. Karuna following it up on the side of the South Korean roster, but still 2 full combos on Flying Tuna and Karcher. Like you said, powerful addition on the Hard Rock roster for Karcher on the South Korean team, still holding on to one of their 2 FCs, one of the only 2 FCs in the lobby right now. You do see another couple breaks come through for Kug, and Ukraine definitely need to hold on to a lot of these combos, pray for some extra breaks to come out of South Korea if they want to try and take this break point. We were talking about how maybe it can favor them with the more simple style of the map, but right now South Korea holding true to what they did in qualifiers.
Accuracy say that, Ukraine aren't having too many shakes on this, but I think it's just the odd inconsistency here. Maybe first map jitters. I think that's what it might be for the Ukrainians. South Korea, though, not showing a lot there. It's just Karuna with that break. About 200 combo after the start. Doomsday Fanboy, my boy, recovering after the early break.
Looks like we are going to have to wait a little bit for 1max to come back in, but with these breaks from the rest of the Ukrainian roster, Kug, Dench, and Net Why Not all finding these breaks now at the 2/3 mark in the map. I think it's mostly over anyway. We've already got a 900,000 score lead or so built up for South Korea, and Flying Tuna and Karcher just continuing the full combo. Doomsday Fanboy, like you said, on the reverse choke right now, and nobody from South Korea missing on that space stream at the end of that section. So this is definitely going over as the first point, regardless of what 1max's score is. At this point, it's 1.4 million team score in South Korea's favor, and one player is not making up that difference for Ukraine.
It's the power pick right out of the gates, working exactly as intended, and that's a pretty solid score. 3.5 million on this. So, very nicely done from SK. No clutch precision map pick for Ukraine on this first one. Not gonna happen. That score's too big.
Almost as good as they're running the qualifiers. They had about a 3.8 million team score in qualifiers. Not too far off here in the round of 32 on this pick. And you only get one go at it in round of 32. They got 2 tries in qualifiers, so very, very solid score. Only an S rank, 1 slider break for Doomsday Fanboy, and a couple misses for Karuna, but still on the 650k. Otherwise, extremely solid performance from South Korea. So really, really good start to the tournament for them. And that's what's expected from this team. They played qualifiers with 7 members and still placed, I believe it was 9th in the qualifiers overall. I mean, they had a ridiculous run out of quals, either only playing with 7 people.
I think it was only a couple maps that really let South Korea down. Otherwise, their seeding would have been even higher than that. I think it was number 3 and 4. They didn't get the highest of scores. Looks like 1max's powers win out. I mean, it wouldn't have made a difference to the map either way, but if they can't get a hold of one max, that's going to be unfortunate. Hopefully we can get him back on for the next one.
Hopefully they are able to. It's never a good moment for a team, especially early stage. Players' power goes out, and you know it is early stage. A lot of times you can field the replacements on some of these easier maps, but it definitely doesn't help the team morale, and that's almost just as important. So looking to get somebody back in there.
It really is. Actually, I want to mention as well, you know, the players we saw from Ukraine there, the miscounts were fairly low. A couple of players there only got like 2 miss, so I think it really was down to maybe just that first map jitters, you know, the first map of not even just their campaign, but the entire tournament. Maybe they just need a map or two to ease their way in, but I think there's definitely more to come once they get a bit more comfortable, Ukraine.
Yeah, I know you mentioned first map jitters at one point during that map. I think it definitely does come down to a little bit of that, especially on CS 6.5 hard rock. You know, any jitters, any shakes whatsoever immediately makes you miss on circle size that small, or circles that small, circle size that large. Ukraine, not the best map to get first picked into for them, that's for sure. Especially, you know, being up against South Korea, you are the underdogs in the matchup. You do have to have a little bit of nerves going into their first pick if you're trying to repeat the performance from last year. I'm sure it's on some of the minds of these players. So, but they're going with something very different from Hard Rock 2 this time around. Yeah. It's Noose, the cup version, mapped by Booyah. This is an interesting map. It's got a lot of really awkward wide-angle jumps all throughout it, and then you go into this, I forget if it's 1/3 or variable BPM section, but a little bit of aim control in this map as well with that lower BPM styling. So very interesting pick in Fremont here for this roster. I expected something a little bit different from them, but this is definitely still a very solid pick. Both of the Fremonts relatively simple compared to some of the more awkward maps in the pool.
Yeah, it is. I think at its heart, this is more about the aim than anything else, but it does have that bit in the middle where it just changes gears into this low BPM control. Very much on the more awkward side of aim, though, this, you know, pretty dodgy angles. Some of these jumps take 200 BPM mostly, and it's also on AR9 for the no modern hidden players, so you have that density unless you're taking hard rock. I actually quite like this map. This is a really cool map in solo. It's pretty cool to see it pop up in OWC this year. Just a cool map overall. Good old Booyah.
Yeah, this is definitely a fun map. I played this a few times in various tournaments actually, so this is definitely not a map that I think a lot of tournament players are unfamiliar with. Definitely a lot of people who have played this at some point before, but I don't know of any open rank tournaments that's made its way into recently. No. So this is probably the first time it's in an open rank tournament out of recent, which is cool to see.
I was gonna say, because I don't remember playing this in any of the tournaments I've played. I guess I'm playing the wrong tourneys.
You gotta rank down a little bit. Join me down in 5K. I'll see you there.
I'm not even in 4K. That's brutal. Oh man! Every time we're seeing the same with the same 4 for SK, I think. They're trying to move over rank AJ. I'm not sure if he's gonna come in for this one. That's right. You put Karcher on the hard rock. You stick probably either Flying Tuna or Karuna on the hidden.
I think they're having a little bit of trouble moving mods or moving players around right now. But honestly, there's a lot of options for mods for South Korea right now. Like you said, probably Flying Tuna or Karuna on the hidden, and honestly, probably Karcher on the hard rock for this pick. I would expect Flying Tuna Karcher on the hard rock and hidden. And then for Ukraine, I actually want to see who goes the hidden for this roster. They had NetWhy Not do very well on Hidden 2 and Hidden 1 in qualifiers, so probably them. They are in for this. I think it's likely to take the Hidden. Some of these other members not exactly super solid on Hidden, can fill for it, but I think partially because of that density, like you mentioned, on AR9 base, some of the members who are a little bit better at reading on the Ukrainian roster going into this, likely taking the no mod and then probably one of their solid hard rock players, either Criterion or Magnata Gamer, taking that HR.
I think, yeah, Netwide Knight is probably going to be the hidden. Magnata Gamer could be taking it. He got decent act, although after a few misses hampered him. Good kill there. Most likely, yeah, between Netwide Knight. Maybe Dench will take the hard rock, because Dench is one of their core players mechanically. Unless they want to trust him with the no mod, maybe. But I think he'd be capable of taking this hard rock there. I think we could see quite a bit of overmodding, honestly. It sounds like we're going to see a lot of hard rocks. I have an inkling we're going to see quite a few hard rocks, especially from SK. Taking that AR10 over the AR9, because the map isn't quite hard enough that they're going to be too bothered about the raw mechanics, and maybe might as well leave it.
Definitely not. I mean, it is still round of 32. None of these pre-mod picks are going to be that difficult with hard rock right now. Especially given the styling of the map. Definitely the 1/3 section, I think, is going to be most difficult with the hard rock. Not only keeping the aim control intact, but the accuracy during that section as well can be a bit of a drain. So it's something to consider. But the density during that part with him is really, really tricky to deal with. So you're definitely preferring no mod or hard rock on that section of the map. The rest of the map, however, it's a bit of a toss-up between the mods and no mod. So we'll probably see it looks like, okay, actually Flying Tuna out for this, and we don't want rank AJ in for South Korea. Apparently it's Maya's instead, so we're getting a bit of a different roster in here for South Korea. And we've got full invites out to everybody once again. I think we're slightly waiting for one max as well for Ukraine.
I think we're hanging on to people to get on the server, because a few people need to be moved over. So I think we're currently just trying to pull all the strings right now. I mean, Maya's playing this will be quite interesting. I think Maya's is actually a really cool addition to SK this year. He's one of those players that you tend to see a lot on the more underplayed, hard no-mod maps. He's the sort of guy that tends to go for those really cool, like the only FC on a no-mod map with no mod scores. You see Mayaz a lot in that position. Really cool no-mod gimmick sort of player. Actually.
Definitely makes sense on this kind of map then, especially if he is just going no mod, going for the full combo on this pick.
That's not a bad choice for sure. Just stick him on that no mod. Hey, I think he's filled for some mods during the qualifiers as well, though, which is quite interesting. Did some bits on the hard rock. Hang on just a sec though, we'll try and get stuff sorted. It seems like some players are having some connection issues right now, so we'll get it on quickly.
Alright, there we go.
There we go. There we are into the pick. Right on cue. It is time to game. So they got free mod 2, and how are the mods looking? Actually, that's a surprising lack of mods there, actually.
Yeah, very base mods for both teams. No overmodding whatsoever. Not even a hidden hard rock on this. Just hard rock for Dench, hard rock for Doomsday Fanboy, hidden for Karuna and Criterion, and then no mod for Flying Tuna, Magnata Gamer, and Netwhy Not. I'm surprised actually at Netwhy Not, no mod, and Criterion hidden. Maybe just the comfort if we want to catch them up.
Yeah, perhaps. With it being AR9 base, I guess it's not quite on the same level of density as an AR8 hidden. This Criterion can fill in many places where needed. A very versatile player. Just the early miss stuff for his team. Wondering how people are going to deal with that BPM change halfway through. And it suddenly shifts into that low BPM control. Everyone dealing with this part very well though.
This section definitely, I think, easy enough for all of these players. Just a bit of burst and aim section here. But immediately a break when we see the BPM change for Maya's on the South Korean roster. Finds a second miss as well, and Criterion now with a combo lead for Ukraine. Did not get tripped up after having that early miss, but there's actually the miss that comes through on the flow aim section here at the lower BPM. Why not as well, having a little bit of trouble on the Ukrainian roster, and South Korea now poised to take a break point. One full combo up, 3-2 right now on the Ukrainian roster. It's Genshin Magnata Gamer to try and hold on to these FCs, but Doomsday Fanboy, Flying Tuna, and Karuna all still full combo for South Korea.
Speed up coming back in. 3 FCs to 2. Plenty of time yet, but SK, everyone looks so comfortable on the aim section. It's like a pretty mighty explosion. I don't think it's going to happen here. Definitely closer though, but yeah, that slow part really did split up the two teams. That control section causing a few breaks, mostly on Ukraine, but relatively close, I'd say. Competitive point that. Not enough for Ukraine to take it though.
Yeah, and this is what you kind of expect from this matchup. You know, Ukraine with the mechanics players, very, very solid start to the map. But that slowdown section gave them a little bit of trouble, and South Korea just had a slightly more well-rounded roster for this map, was able to handle the slowdown section better, like you said, and comes out on top because of it. Still a very close point, one break fewer for Ukraine, and suddenly that map is just about tied up. But as it stands, 2-0 start for South Korea, and they are looking very solid out of the gate right now. 3.5 million plus team scores for South Korea at the start of this match. I mean, this is what you want to see from these higher seeded teams, right? You want to see them continue the dominance that they have had throughout the years. And South Korea in particular has a long history of being very, very good at Ostandard, and has quite a few players on the team who are long-standing players for this roster who want to continue to show that they are still at that peak that they have had for such a long time. And going into Hidden 2 as a next pick, I think, is a really solid way to continue that show of dominance.
Yeah, they're picking really well. Really good picks, not only for their own skill set, but against Ukraine. Going into the low AR, the AR8 Classic, that's by Marash and Delis. This one is less about the raw just reading of disgusting patterns, although this does have a little bit of that. It's more about the awkward aim side of low AR. Lots of awkward shapes all the way throughout this one. But there are a few kind of deceiving overlapping patterns you have to deal with, though, on the low AR. So it is there, the reading element.
It is definitely still there. Like you said, a little bit simpler than a lot of the other low approach rate maps, but definitely still has a lot of that reading, especially when you get to the end of the map. I know there's a few patterns that are meant to trip people up near the end of this pick. Has a lot of that. Has a lot of that almost linear grid snappy feeling near the beginning of the map, moves away from it a little bit in the middle, and then comes back to it a little bit near the end. This one, this is an interesting map, actually, given all the history with the naming of it throughout the tournament. But it seems like we're already into it, actually. Zazen Maya's, Flying Tuna, Note KJK in for South Korea. Magnata Gamer, Dench, Criterion, and Net Why Not in for the Ukrainian team. The roster for both teams on Hidden 2, I believe, out of qualifiers as well. So no surprises anywhere. We're just going with, actually, Karuna subbed out for Zazen on the side of South Korea compared to their qualifiers runs. But other than that, no changes whatsoever from the initial rosters during qualifiers. So very expected lineups for both teams.
It's the same four that played the last map for Ukraine, so they've got their eye in now. Let's see if the 3-2 warm-up will set them up for this. Very different sort of map, though. Apart from maybe, I guess, the hidden players. Quite long, this as well. It's not a short AR8 thing. Plenty of time to find your footing on it and recover if you have a slow start.
do see a slow start for a couple of players, by the way. Dench, Netwynot, and Zyson all finding early breaks on this map within the first 100 combo or so. Everybody else holding strong. Dench actually finding a repeat break, and Magnata Gamer also dropping the combo for Ukraine. So it's just Criterion holding on. He's definitely one of the more well-rounded players on this roster, goes in for basically every pick for the team. So no surprises to see him doing very well right now. But unfortunately, the rest of the team having a little bit of trouble there. Dench and Magnata Gamer in particular with those recent combo breaks. Netwynot on a solid recovery, but 3 full combos still for South Korea. It is only the first half of the map, but that's a really solid first half to have.
Yeah, just Zyson filling in, finding the odd break, but the act shows that it was just the odd slip. A couple of those on Ukraine as well. Like, it's the nature of the beast with this sort of map. You're fine the entire way, but it's easy to miss aim one node, even if it is a relatively simple one. Welcome to AR8.
Yeah, anything awkward at all on AR8 with Hidden is just a bear to try and aim correctly. You've got to be so snappy on so many of these patterns. That's really hard when a lot of it is linear or very wide angle types of patterns like we see all throughout this map. So really tough to be super consistent on that if you don't have that super snappy aim. We do see a drop from Maya's, by the way. That's a full combo gone for South Korea. It's still Criterion and Netwynot with solid combos for Ukraine, and Magnata Gamer matching the combo from Zyson. So Dench just with a straight up combo lead for Ukraine right now, and that lead is starting to shrink, you can see.
Yeah, they're really back in it now, Ukraine. A lot of combos on their side on multiple players. Plenty of time here with 200k to go. On the back of no KJK to try and keep SK in it, but it ain't going to be enough as it stands. The ending, though, is very deceiving. There's some pretty dodgy patterns coming up here.
Oh my lord, those jumps are just ridiculous. Magnata Gamer finding the miss, but I think it's enough. Criterion and Netwynot holding alongside Dench.
Oh!
He misses at the very end! No, you're kidding!
No, that
oh
just happened,
my!
Dio. You're joking. No way, that was the last note. The last note. Not even an exaggeration.
He dropped 3 100s and a miss at the very end of the map, and it actually swung it back over. You've got to be joking. Oh.
No, that's not the way I thought that was going to go. My god. I mean, the ending on that is so troll. It's just so troll. And I was thinking it was going to cause some funny misses. I didn't think it would literally matter this much. Wow.
Wow. Wow, indeed. Full combo for Nope KJK, I believe, by the way. Definitely earns them that point. He had to hold on until the very end of the map. If he doesn't, that choke at the very end there from Criterion is actually enough to pull it back over to Ukraine. But because Nope KJK was able to hold on until the very end of the map when everyone else on South Korea broke, they still managed to come out on top anyway. It's a very good 3-0 start for South Korea. But man, what a point from Ukraine. You know, we talk about this team a lot as being this really mechanics-focused roster, very solid on a lot of the more simple picks. Well, guess what? They just almost took a break point on Hidden 2 away from South Korea, of all teams. Really solid performance out of Ukraine. They do go ahead and pick into this double time 2 pick next up, but you know, staying true to the usual colors. But man, that is some improvement on those more reading-focused picks for sure.
Yeah, that was a good team score, honestly. It's kind of brutal that they lost it in such a close fashion, but yeah, definitely good performance there against a strong low AR team. Doing something like this, I think, is a bit more up their alley, but it's definitely up South Korea's alley as well. Anything DT, they have the roster to deal with it, especially at this level. So this one's going to be a tough matchup. I think either of these teams to win, they're going to have to perform highly. More of a speed-focused double-time pick this. 248 BPM. Patterns are relatively simple in their shape, but lots of fast bursts. 5 notes, 7 note bursts at this speed. But for the DT rosters, it should be more about just keeping cool and consistent. It's not too nasty for those speed players. But the fill players, may need to try and hold on a little bit more. I think it's going to come down to that more.
Yeah, like you said, the overall speed requirement in this map, I mean, it's round of 32, right? It's never going to be all that high for those people who really are speed players, but those players who aren't quite as comfortable on the skill set, who aren't quite as comfortable with just the raw speed aspect of the game, are going to have to really try and keep the combo together, keep their heads cool, and make sure that everything is held onto correctly. It's a very fast-paced map as well, 2 minutes and 28 seconds after GT. Not quite AR10 on this pick, but they'll need every sort of advantage they can get to come out on top, because this type of map where it really is just, can you hit the burst? Can you aim everything correctly? Do you get nerves and shake off a pattern, or drop a note at the end of a burst like Zaysen there? It really is what it comes down to on a pick like this. So early combo lead for the Ukrainian roster on their own pick. A good start for this roster on Double Time 2.
Got one max back in as well. Relief, getting the boy back in. And yeah, starting out really well.
Another combo breaks from anybody aside from that early miss at the end of a burst for Zaysen. Flying Tuna, Karuna, Doomsday Fanboy all still holding full combos. All 4 members for Ukraine still on the FC, about halfway through the map. Magnata Gamer, Dench, Criterion, and 1max. This halfway point is where it's really important to hold that combo, though. Early breaks much less impactful than breaks halfway through. And there goes Karuna as well for South Korea now. 1max follows it up with a break of his own on the side of the Ukrainian team. So it's 3 full combos to 2 right now, but not too far behind for Zaysen at the moment. You can see about 140, 150,000 score down from an FC right now. And that's really where all of the score lead is coming from. Otherwise, the combos are completely traded back and forth. I believe 1max actually found a break a little bit after his initial one as well. And there goes another slider break for 1max. So actually now, a bit of a combo lead for Karuna finally drops there with a slider break for Karuna. But there goes Dench as well now. It's 2 full combos to 2, but look at that supporting combo from Zaysen. It's going to do so much work as Magnata Gamer also drops, and that just about puts the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, big advantage now for SK. They take the lead, and they're going to start running away now. Not much of this map left to go. They ain't going to take long to seal this. And Ukraine holding on for so long there, but the solo and the bridge there, just a step too far it seems. Doomsday Fanboy finding the break, but they're still fine at this point.
Zaysen and Flying Tuna to close it out at the end for South Korea. Flying Tuna matching the FC from Criterion, and Zaysen, the early break right at the start of the map, not mattering quite as much. 1 slider break, still enough to put up 900k for him on the map. And looking at all of the scores, it's so close member to member. 1 mil for Criterion and Flying Tuna, 900k for Zaysen, 888k for Magnata Gamer, 1 mil for Doomsday Fanboy, and 867k for Dench, and then 680 and 620k for 1max. It's these small margins of score difference just across all 4 members that does the work for South Korea, just that ever so slightly better team performance. And that's what it's about in round of 32, where the difference is between 3.5 and 3 million team score instead of 2.5 and 2 million team score instead.
Yeah, it's the nature of the beast, especially with a lot of these DT picks. And when you have matchups like this with great DT rosters both sides, it does come down to the odd one slip, the odd little slider break. And that's what happened here.
This is a rough position for Ukraine to be in. Down 4-0, down match point. Next pick over to South Korea. They actually go for Hard Rock 1. I'm a little surprised to see Hard Rock 1 picked into Ukraine instead, especially with how they've been picking throughout this. But after that performance on Hidden 2, you have to be a little worried if you are South Korea about picking into some of those more gimmicky picks in the pool that are left up. So going for Hard Rock 1, going for mechanics. They've won every pick so far. They're up 4-0. Can't call it a bad pick at all. They've got the roster for it, that's for sure. Karcher, Doomsday Fanboy, Flying Tuna, and Karuna pretty likely to stay in. I don't think they need to make any changes to this roster, because this is a really solid roster in qualifiers for them as well. They could sub in Zaysen, say for maybe, I don't know, Tuna. But other than that, I mean, it is. Carter was the member missing during qualifiers, and they had to sub in. Actually, Carter's subbing in for Zyson. He had the lowest score on Hard Rock 1 in qualifiers, so this is a solid roster for South Korea. Ukraine, I don't think any changes needed to the core 4.
Yeah, that's going to be the squad. And if you have Karcher available, you just put him on Hard Rock. It's what he does. Zyson can fill though where necessary. He's coming in for Karuna for this one, possibly. That'd be an interesting swap. He is capable, but Karuna did well on the Hard Rock 1 in qualies. It's a bit of a different map though, this compared to that. You know, this one more of like an old style, higher BPM aim pick. It's very much an old school style. But the mechanics are pretty much the same outside of the slightly higher BPM. Maybe a few angles here and there.
One, if I remember right, a little bit bursty as well at 210 BPM, which can be something that trips up some of your players if they're not, ready for those bursts. If they're just focusing entirely on aim, you can over-focus on one skill and not be prepared for some of those bursts that are coming up. We do see Zyson subbing in, by the way, for Nope KJK right before the map starts. A slight change for the South Korean roster, putting Zyson in instead. Don't think it'll impact too much, though. Obviously, both of these teams putting in their best roster. They do have all 8 members here for both teams, so
you love to see it. You do. Both these teams missed a player in qualifiers, but they're all here today. Although I don't think we've seen Endless Tilt yet for Ukraine.
Alright, we actually haven't seen him. We've seen everybody else. I don't think we saw Dusnicky today either for Ukraine.
No.
But I don't think it's impacted the roster too heavily as well. We've had all their standout members from qualifiers here for every map for Ukraine. So looking for them to pull out the win on this one as well. Net why not though, with a little bit of a shaky start. Criterion as well with an underaim there on one of the jumps into a triple. So a couple early breaks at the start of the map for Ukraine. If you're gonna get the jitters out of the way, do it at the beginning of the map. It's much less impactful than missing halfway through when your nerves have built up all throughout it. But these continued breaks for Net why not really not doing them a favor for this Ukrainian team. We do see a break come out from Zyson on the side of South Korea. That does help mitigate some of those combo deficits that Ukraine has right now, but it's still 3 full combos to 2 in favor of South Korea right now. Carter, Doomsday Fanboy, Flying Tuna, all still holding the FC. Magnata Gamer and Dench. Actually, Dench missing now, as I said that, for Ukraine. Magnata Gamer goes as well, and that is just disaster for the Ukrainian roster. 3 full combos to none.
That's pain, man. Yeah, it's looking curtains here for Ukraine, I think. 3 FCs to nothing, and the way South Korea have been playing, the swagger has been just on point for SK. They are turning up like, OWC royalty that they are. They've been playing super well today. Well, break the Flying Tuna though. I imagine he'll be kicking himself for that, but it's not even going to matter at this point. 2 FCs still. Well, 1 FC? Wait.
Okay,
still
hold on
to go, maybe we shouldn't say anything yet.
Classic commentator curse, by the way. Doomsday Fanboy is still holding on right now, still holding through the burst, through some of this more intense section in the map, but there goes Criterion's combo once again. There goes Doomsday Fanboy actually now. Look at the combos on Ukraine. Magnata Gamer, Dench, Net why not, all over 400 combos. Net why not, above 600 as well. There's only a 350k, 340k score lead right now for South Korea. I think there's probably enough time. They need to hold, though, for Ukraine in order to keep this match alive.
Yeah, they have to. Can they do it? Is there even enough time, though?
It's going to be so close. I mean, the score is still going up fairly solidly for South Korea. The extra combos on Ukraine are fairly big, but I don't know if it's going to be enough, even if they hold.
It's closing in, They're still holding, all 3 of them. Another break from SK as well. Criterion's the only one breaking for Ukraine. But it's looking like it's not going to be enough. Oh man, that was so close. Incredible attempt though. It's not enough though. Oh my goodness.
It's just not quite enough for the Ukrainian roster, and that's been the story of this match, right? They've had so many close maps, anything from their own free mod picks to Hidden 2, now onto Hard Rock 1. They've had very close maps all throughout this match, but never was it quite enough to take down South Korea on any of these maps. And I think that's the statement that South Korea wants to make here in round of 32. You have to think that that tiebreaker match from last year against Ukraine in this very same round was playing out in the back of their minds for this entire South Korea roster, who is mostly the same as last year. But they came to put any of those doubts to rest. South Korea with a 5-0 start here in the round of 32. Absolutely a deserved win, moving on to the round of 16.
Yeah, they very well could have, let that play on their mind. They could have mind gamed themselves a little bit, knowing what Ukraine are capable of, but no such issues this year. SK running out, dominating winners. Ukraine with a good few fights there, especially on that last map and on that low approach rate hidden. But unfortunately, it just wasn't looking like they were going to take this, really. SK looking on another level right now. Ukraine can carry on, though. They are dropping down to losers bracket. They are not out yet, and they will play next week. We'll see how they carry on that campaign later.
So good luck to them in the losers bracket. Congrats to South Korea on the win, though, picking that up and moving on to the round of 16. We are going to take a short break, but we will be back in about 19 minutes with the next matchup of the round of 32. It's Hong Kong versus Turkey, two middle-seeded teams in this tournament, and two teams that are definitely going to be strong on the round of 32 pool. That is absolutely an exciting matchup. I think Turkey definitely had sort of a revamping of their own tournament scene after last year when they managed to take a point off the United States as that 32nd seed out of qualifiers. They are now the 21st seed out of qualifiers, facing off against, I believe, seed number 12 in Hong Kong this year. So a relatively close matchup in terms of seeding, and with two rosters that are definitely geared up for that early stage. I'm excited to cast it. We'll be back in about 18 minutes with that matchup.
drop it. And you're looking into cold green eyes. Ooh.
Welcome back, everyone, to the OS World Cup 2021 round of 32. We had a pretty solid start to the round with Korea versus Ukraine. It was a 5-0 for the higher seeded team in Korea, but we are now on to our next matchup. It is Hong Kong versus Turkey. These two teams both relatively close in seeding. Seed number 12 in Hong Kong versus seed number 21 in Turkey. And with some very solid players on both rosters, this looks to be an exciting one. My name is Dio. I was on the previous matchup alongside Doomsday, but I am joined by a different commentator this time around, and actually one of the organizers of the tournament this year, Mr. Chillier Pear. How's it going this morning?
Oh, good morning, Dio. It is a fantastic day for matches, as usual. We've got a good one for us this morning. We had a solid start to the day. We saw South Korea, one of our stronger teams in the tournament, showing their dominance over the Ukraine, who had a very good match. A couple unfortunate points lost there that they could have picked up, but nonetheless, a good start this year. But Hong Kong Turkey, I think this is a matchup that highly anticipated for a lot of people watching this year. We have a vastly different Hong Kong roster compared to previous years in terms of the names we're seeing here. And Turkey, a roster I think that has gotten significantly stronger over the years from just 2 years ago, barely qualifying in that 32nd seeded spot, now forcing their way all the way up to that 21st seeded spot.
And that's alongside, I think, what a lot of people who are familiar with these players would call an underperformance from some of their other members. So I think it's even viable to say that this team is better than what they performed as in qualifiers. So this is a deceptively strong team Turkey right now. They have some really incredible members on particular picks. There are decidedly some weaknesses for this team Turkey, notably their runs on the hidden maps in qualifiers were not super solid, but the same can honestly be said a little bit for this Hong Kong roster. Had some subpar runs on the hidden maps in qualifiers compared to the rest of the modifications in that pool. So I think both of these teams' skill sets mirroring each other a little bit. Definitely, however, much better for Hong Kong on those control-focused maps, things like the tech pick or the alt map. In qualifiers, they have a decisive advantage on, but very, very strong double time performance for both of these teams, very strong hard rock performance for both of these teams, and very strong Nomad 1 performance for both of these teams. Definitely a solid ban out from Turkey, however. Hong Kong in the qualifiers with an extremely strong performance on Hard Rock 1. They actually had one of the best scores on that map, number 4 overall on Hard Rock 1 for Hong Kong, and an early DT2 ban coming out of Hong Kong as well. Turkey with a extremely solid DT2 run in qualifiers.
Very strong indeed. Some smart bans starting off from these two teams. I think we have enough experience here for them to be able to open up these early stage matches with some confident picks and bans here. Of course, that Hard Rock one from Turkey, not surprising. Hong Kong is a very solid, consistency-oriented team with their roster, despite the changes that we mentioned. I mean, you look at Hong Kong this year, they're missing a lot of those flagship players. You're missing Chaos Litz now, you're missing Denier Nezar, you're missing Saku, Hibiki, and iReady all from last year. But they do have some useful changes to the roster this year. Minecraft 570, MCY4, RLSC Tira, and Muji all taking some spots on this roster. So a lot of that, tried and true Hong Kong player base coming out here. That strong early stage. Raikaho gonna be picking the Nomad 2 to start for Turkey. A strong stream team, and that is an understatement for Turkey. Now we know Raikaho, the top performing player over qualifiers as a whole, I believe. And hey Roni, the backing player on Turkey, I think for many years now, Raikaho is going to be one of his stronger skill sets in this. So Turkey is going to try and open it up with a guaranteed pick for themselves, hopefully.
Yeah, it's interesting looking at Turkey's qualifier run on this, because I think during run 2, Heyroni probably joined them when he was not warmed up. Usually a very good stream player, did not have a solid performance on Nomad 2 in qualifiers, and so despite that run getting them 2.6 million team score, it was off the back of a full combo from Zephyrek, off a 750k from Raikaho on Nomad 2 in qualifiers, and a 660k from Misumena. So this roster now, where I assume Heyroni has a proper warm-up against this Hong Kong team, is very scary on Nomad 2, especially when Hong Kong, that was probably the weakest map that they had, actually, in the Nomad. Almost their weakest map overall. The only map that they had a lower score on was Hidden 2 in the qualifiers. So very, very solid pick for Turkey. This is very clearly a well-researched pick, both for their own skill set and for the opposing teams. They should not have any problems closing this one out. Shirata Yuki, RLSC, MCY4 going in for Hong Kong on this one. Not super surprising there. You expect to see either A21 or Dragbit3 come in to round out the roster on this one. It's actually going to be Minecraft 570. That's a little interesting to me. He's definitely not who I think of when I think of stamina players. Very solid gimmick and reading player. Okay, never mind.
Oh, there you go.
There we go.
Hong Kong has blundered. There we go. Oh, that makes a lot more sense there, I guess. I mean, yeah, Minecraft not half bad at these early stage no mod 2s, but yeah, 3 minutes and 35 seconds of stamina, streaming is not exactly where he, I'm gonna say his top skill set lies, but he's sitting comfortably here. So both rosters right now actually running with 2 brand new players on the roster. We have RLSC and MCY4 for Hong Kong, and Misumina and ZephyrX for Team Turkey. So I'm very interested to see how these 4 new players perform compared to the veterans on either side. I guess Raikoho as well, actually.
Was Raikoho not on their roster last year?
I'm trying. I think he was last year, but I feel like he seems newer, which is weird.
I would have to assume he was. He's definitely had his breakout year in 2021 in terms of community tournaments. So kind of new in the community conscious right now for Raikoho, but player left over from last year's roster, definitely far better this year than he has ever been in the past. We are looking to Misumina and ZephyrX to go ahead and get us started there. Again, this roster for Turkey very, very solid on the qualifiers. No mod 2, even despite Heironi having a bad run. But very clearly not having the same type of run this day for Heironi. Still on the SS out of the gate. RLSC with a really early break. Probably not going to impact too much, but does betray maybe a little bit first map jitters or a little discomfort on the pick.
Well, some early round jitters is something I guess you can expect, especially when you got half the rosters for your team being newer players. Granted, nobody in this lobby, I think, is new to tournaments in general, but I think, when you're on the stage like OWC, even more experienced tournament players can start to feel the nerves here. Even these early round matchups, you want to maintain this winner's bracket position as long as you possibly can. And RLSC, unfortunately, is not going to be making a good start for Hong Kong here. He's going to time that first major break for them, and Turkey going to continue to just run through their opening pick here. High accuracy all around for both teams. It's just RLSC that's had that trouble.
Yeah, Turkey's dropped a total of 5 100s so far, looking very solid. Oh, there's a 6 100 drop from Misumena. But overall, very solid. As I say that, though, Heironi drops on one of the flowier sections in this map, one of the more aim-focused parts of the streams. RLSC drops once again, however, really not having a solid time with this pick for RLSC. 3 full combos to 3 now, however. Turkey not as decisively in the lead as they were about a minute ago, but there goes Shiraha Yuki dropping the full combo as well for Hong Kong. It's MCY4 and Dragbit 3 holding on at the moment for the Hong Kong squad, but Raikoho, Misumena, and ZephyrX all looking very, very solid right now for Turkey.
Turkey, they know what they can do. They know what their strong suits are. This No Mod 2 was a confident first pick from Raikoho. I guess they came out of qualifiers, and despite having maybe a little bit of an underperformance, they are going to stay true to what they know that they're good at. And this No Mod 2 is certainly sitting comfortably with them. RLSC going to find one more break, and there goes MCY, and that's going to do it for this map here. Less than a quarter of it left here. ZephyrX is going to find a break, but those 2 FCs holding strong with Heironi recovering perfectly from this. That is far out of time. It's a little bit more aim-oriented on the No Mod 2 this year, might I add, as well. So you see some spacing increases. You got that variability here at that. We haven't necessarily seen as much in previous years, and when you get the flow aim like this transitioning, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for some of those players that are more just stamina-oriented. Dragbit's going to drop that last FC for Hong Kong, and that's going to do it for that first pick.
And like you said, we actually saw most of the breaks in this map where that flow aim was at its peak, around the middle of the pick, where you've got, all of this ridiculous flow aim going on, but really solid first pick for Turkey. The full combo from Raikoho, less than 10 100s. Single-digit 100 count also for Misumina, who had only 6 100s dropped, actually, and missing a slider break for them, but otherwise extremely solid play from Turkey all around, all of their members with really high scores. And that's what you need in round of 32. You need that overall high team score in order to win those picks. So not any surprise that the first pick goes that well for either of these teams. And it looks like we've got our first pick for Hong Kong now. Hidden One. This map actually banned out in the previous round, so happy to see this one get picked.
This is going to be a good one to finally see out here, but I think if there was anything that we were expecting to see out of Hong Kong in this opening round here, I would say that Hidden One probably fits the docket to the exact level that they're looking for here. Last pick going, not too bad for Hong Kong, regardless of the breaks that we saw. Was only about a 540,000 point difference, which is definitely sizable, but when you're in a 4v4 tournament in an early stage, that lead can very quickly disappear with, just 1 or 2 breaks on the side. So Team Turkey taking that confident first pick, I think, with their overall team performance, but Hong Kong not too far behind, so they have full availability here from their roster and all their skill sets to just grab their first pick right here. We're seeing a couple of roster switches for both teams right now. Not too much in terms of Hong Kong. You have A21 coming in, which I don't think is a surprise to anyone for a Hidden One pick. And then Turkey going to make a couple of changes here. We have Chemist and Shinkiro coming in for this beginning one.
Did go over the maps beforehand, but remind me a little bit. This map is relatively control focused compared to the Hidden One in qualifiers, if I'm remembering correctly. A little bit more finger control in this map, a little bit more flow aim from some of the bursts in this map as well, if I remember correctly. So it's a little bit trickier than the Hidden One from qualifiers, I believe.
Yeah, this is more I don't think technically intensive is the word, but I think that might be what I'm going to have to roll with here. It's less standardized than what you would expect from the consistency-based Hidden One more of qualifiers here. And I think we're looking for, that classic style of kecking mapping here that I think so many people have come to expect and notice when you play tournaments. But I don't think we're going to deviate from that too much here. Another roster switch for Turkey before we started the map as well. Eggman Basurm's coming back in once again. I think he makes his return year after year for the Turkey team. We'll see what happens on the start of the Hidden One here. I'm not going to expect too many breaks in the early parts of this map. We generally like to ease into this. We'll start to get some double patterns here. Shinkiro is going to mess up one of these early ones. There's slight overlaps here. It's nothing major, but I think if you're not ready for them, these overlaps can catch you off guard just a little bit. And I think Shinkiro is kind of showing that to us if you're not quite ready for it at the beginning. But everyone else holding strong. We'll see.
Not quite technically intensive, but not quite standard either. A little more control focused, a little more reading focused on the pick. And that is the difference maker for these two teams. Hong Kong, most definitely a solid control focused, reading focused team. Very good on the tech picks as well in any modification, really. So this type of map in Hidden One is definitely right up their alley. You can see the accuracy reflecting that. SS still for A21, Dragbit 3 and MCY4 on 1/100 full combos. Shiraha Yuki with a 2/100 full combo at the moment. And there's another couple misses coming through for Turkey, both Chemist and Zephyrex finding those drops in this first PI time. Eggman Basurms as well dropping down. Dragbit 3 trades one of those misses for Hong Kong, but it is 3 full combos to none right now, and this is what you want to see from the higher seeded team. Never mind, A21 drops down, but it's still 2 full combos to naught right now, and that is more than enough for this Hong Kong team to build up a substantial score lead, already over 500k in the lead.
Good performance from them again. We saw something similar on the last map, a strong performance from Hong Kong at the beginning, but they just had a couple extra breaks in that middle Ki time than what Turkey had, and I think we're just seeing the opposite of that right now. You have that last break right there from MCY4, but Shiraha Yuki is gonna be able to hold this one down for Hong Kong with the sizable lead that they have. They might be able to advance this to 1 million plus by the ending of the map here. It's gonna be rather close. I think they're just gonna do it right here on the spinner. So very, very strong team performance from Hong Kong on this opening pick. It's just over 3.2 million on a team score. Now that is actually very impressive, even for an opening round of 32 matchup. And A21, actually, despite having that SS for the longest in the lobby, is actually going to be putting up the second lowest score on the Hong Kong team for this map.
Sometimes that's just how it is. You miss right in the middle of the pick, and suddenly your score gets cut right in half. Dragbit 3 missing pretty much exactly in the middle of the map, and that's why those scores are so close. But unfortunately, nobody on Team Turkey, despite the slider breaks coming through from ZephyrX and Egmembasserms, able to hold on to the combo long enough to really contest Hong Kong in any significant way. Those two full combos from Shirahayuki, or one full combo from Shirahayuki, and really high 860k from MCY4. Only one miss on that score, doing more than enough work. Like you said, Chili, you're above 1 million team score in the difference for those two. So very, very dominant first pick from actually both of these teams, but even more so from Hong Kong, man. That was a really solid performance on that pick. Turkey with the second pick, though, Nomad 5, I think bodes pretty well for them. We saw DT2 get banned out. Well, that map is only 8 BPM higher than Nomad 5, and the structure is very similar for these two picks. Nostalgic Blood of the Strife by Lar, mapped by Zelt. Very, very burst-heavy sort of map. Lots of consecutive bursts in this map, consecutive triples all over the place. Nothing really above 9 notes, if I'm remembering correctly, so no long streams in this pick, but more so the emphasis on can you burst 240 BPM consistently. Your real speed players are not going to struggle too much with this one, but your fill players early on are maybe going to have a little bit of trouble keeping up with some of the patterns in this map.
So it's another one of those like early stage Nomad 5 moments here where it's not too stamina heavy, but the bursts are really there and prominent, which is kind of the best way that you're going to be able to test this early round Nomad 5 here. But you know, it's kind of funny to see Turkey picking this into Hong Kong. I think in previous years, picking this into Hong Kong would have generally not been a very good idea given their roster, but it's very interesting that Turkey thinks that, you know, they have the skill set, they have the players in that roster to make it enough to take it on this one. They were very confident on their first pick. I don't imagine they're going to be much less confident on this one. I think anything for them where they can kind of get that, you know, Raikaho combo in is going to be massively useful for them in these early stages here. And as long as they can find picks like that, I think they're going to be able to trade this back and forth for quite a while.
I think it helps a lot that Turkey can sort of directly compare the double time 2 scores from qualifiers for both of these teams. Turkey's run on DT2 in qualifiers was just absolutely fantastic. I mean, 3.9 million team score. They had one of the best scores out of any team to play the qualifiers. I believe they were number 13 on the map overall. Hong Kong at 3.1 million team score, definitely struggling a little bit more. Granted, that DT2 pick in qualifiers a little bit more finger control focus, a little bit less burst oriented than this Nomad 5 pick, but it definitely bodes well, especially with that DT2 ban out of Hong Kong. And this is an interesting roster to have. Shirahayuki, Arlasy, MCY4, and Minecraft 570 in for this one for Hong Kong. So we're going to see how these new members can stack up for the Hong Kong roster.
Well, I am very excited to see it. I think all the new players looked very good on their first starting maps here in the first 2 picks, and I don't think it's going to change too much on this. Again, Nomad 5, not generally a technically intensive map, a lot of mechanics here, but some early breaks from Egemen and Raikaho at the start of this Nomad 5. It's not going to mean too much, but it is going to be an early start that Hong Kong is going to need to offset that accuracy from Minecraft 570 right now. But I guess there's overall accuracy drops on Turkey for the most part here. Kemst and Egmembasserms Raikaho, all of them with lower accuracy. Egemen and Raikaho we can chalk up to those early breaks that they found. ZephyrX going to be holding the highest accuracy here until that 100 drop there. It's going to be MCY with the double S, but Hong Kong again showing us they're really strong on those accuracy maps, especially something like a Nomad 5, more conventional patterning. You know, it's less finger control, less aim control. It's more just that base mechanics, and that's something that Hong Kong is generally very, very good at. And they're going to show that through the accuracy like they do time and time again. We're going to see it continually raise on Egemen and Raikaho as we continue slowly working our way through the map, but surely.
Slowly but surely. We do see member Cern's having a little trouble connecting to everything, but it honestly doesn't matter all that much. We still got 4 full combos on the Hong Kong squad, so even if we do see disconnection issues for either team. Oh, there we go for Eggman. Okay. He's gonna be playing catch up a little bit, I suppose, but this is the early squad for Hong Kong. RLSC actually finding a miss halfway through the map, finding that slider break, but this is a really solid early score for Hong Kong. MCY4 now dropping down as well. Shiraha Yuki and Minecraft 570 now left alone. The 2 lower accuracy members able to hold on to the combo instead of those higher rack plays from MCY4 and RLSC. But on the other side for Turkey, there's just not the combo to contest those 2 FCs. It's only Reikaho holding on. Chemist and Zephyrex, have found misses. And even with that miss from Shiraha Yuki, there's just not supporting combo. Now gone for Minecraft 570 as well. But look at the score difference, 600k in the favor of Hong Kong. It's going to be more than enough.
Yeah, unfortunately, Eggman with the breaks that he found in the positions that they were at is just simply not going to be enough to drag this back. He would need over 800,000 as his total score for that to happen, and he found that early break as well as another one in the middle, which is just enough to push him out of that zone. Unfortunately enough, he looks very confident on this 99% accuracy, going to be bringing it into the finish, but not quite the performance he wanted on this map today. Raikaho as well with that very early break, a 200,000 point difference from him. Could have actually made a bit of a difference there as well. There was just those little things that make that small difference in these round of 32 stages. These maps not quite difficult enough to catch, multiple players normally, but on something like this, having at least one FC or something close to it is, generally the difference between winning and losing that map. And Turkey, unfortunately, going to let that first break point slip up, so Hong Kong is going to have a good strong stance at the top of the hill here to go into their second pick, which is going to be Nomad 4. Again, Hong Kong sticking to those strong suits. Less mechanically oriented maps here, something that they're going to have a little bit of an easier time against Turkey.
And just to touch on overall how that map went, it's what we talk about with Hong Kong when we talk about these early stage rosters. Hong Kong has so many players that are known for being extremely strong early stage, just being very consistent, and that's how you get that overall higher team score. Even if you have that late stage scaling, if you're not able to consistently put up 4 solid scores in the early stage, it's not going to matter. And that's the ability that Hong Kong has here. It makes them very scary in round of 32, round of 16 matchups, even against some of the higher seeded teams that we'll see them against next weekend. So Turkey definitely has to be scared of this map, though. Be With You by F. Ravi. Altai custom mapping this for the Ost World Cup this year. It's a very, very slider-focused tech map, much more so than the qualifiers tech pick. This is really focused on the slider velocity. There's even some slider ticks on some of these longer sliders that really force you to fully aim the slider, fully follow the sliders, and that is the name of the game of this map. And when you have players on the side of Hong Kong that are known for their tech scores, that have extremely good finger control and aim control, it makes it a very scary roster to play tech maps against for any team, let alone Turkey, who did have a tougher time on the more tech-focused, more control-focused maps in qualifiers.
Yeah, Turkey is definitely one of those teams where you kind of dub them a mechanics team. I think that's what their strong point is, and unfortunately they don't have much outside of that in terms of more specialized skill sets or gimmick skill sets that are more required for a Nomad 4. And again, despite all of Hong Kong's roster switches away from a roster that was so unbelievably strong on maps like this, I think they may have potentially even put together a roster this year that was stronger than previous years on maps like this. I mean, A21 has made significant improvements in what he's good at. We've got MCY4 coming in this year as well to join the roster, which is massive for them here. But I don't think this is out of the question for Turkey. I think on these early stage Nomad 4s, there is always that one point where you can just mess something up so simple, something that you maybe have never even missed before. And I guess, in match is always there's always a first for everything. And unfortunately in matches generally when that tends to happen. But I think with the way that Hong Kong has been playing today, I wouldn't expect to see anything of that sort from them. But we'll get that quick team switch right here. We'll get all the players situated, and we will officially get into the Nomad 4 here. Interested, again, to see how Turkey holds up against Hong Kong on this map. I don't think anyone is really questioning whether or not Hong Kong is going to win this, I guess, based on their track records thus far. But, we could be surprised by bigger things.
Yeah, for sure. We did see a pop-off from Shinkiro on the qualifiers tech map as well, so looking to him to really pop off here in the round of 32. He was the player who scored them that 880k on Nomad 4 in qualifiers that actually got them the majority of their team score almost. Only 2.2 million for Turkey during that qualifiers run, so Shinkiro doing a lot of the work there for that team. And if we see an underperformance from Hong Kong and overperformance from Turkey, it's definitely possible. We do see an early miss come out from Zephyrx at the start of the map. But these sliders are really what you're talking about when we were talking about, hey, this map is really slider focused. We weren't lying. All of this map is basically focused on, can you follow the sliders? Can you read correctly when you've got slider bodies obstructing your field of view? And neither of these teams having too much trouble with it, but these super fast sliders, Shiraha Yuki, A21, and Misumena, all breaking on them at the same time. Those are where you have to follow them because of the slider ticks, and the slider velocity is just so high at that part. And it's actually now a slight combo advantage for Turkey, but there goes Zephyrx's combo, and now it's back on the other foot again. Hong Kong with a slight combo lead, 2 full combos to 2 right now. Dragbit 3, MCY4, Chemist, and Shinkiro all holding those FCs.
Strong on the side of Hong Kong. Their accuracy is making a difference once again. High 98% accuracy basically for the entire team. Turkey not too far behind, but again, some of those bigger combos on their team not with massive accuracy. Shinkiro trying to make something happen as Dragbit finds a break. It's not going to be massive, but it is enough to start making that score go back to the side of Turkey right here. They have those 2 combos in Keemston Shinkiro, but they need to hold, and there goes MCY4. That's exactly what Turkey needs right there.
No full combos left for Hong Kong. This is just massive for Turkey. There goes Chemist, though. It's only Shinkiro. That's the member who popped off in qualifiers, doing it once again here for Hong Kong, or for Turkey, excuse me. Is it going to be enough, though?
Oh, it's so close at the ending here. Oh, Mr. Mina finds a break. That might be it. Oh, no.
Oh, man. Those breaks from Misumena and Chemist right at the end of the map. Shinkiro is actually able to hold on to the full combo. There's no FCs for Hong Kong. But again, it goes back to what we were talking about with Hong Kong, this early stage roster. None of these members below 600k. In fact, every member between 630 and 660k. That's what you call consistency for this Hong Kong team, man. And that's what puts them over those lower scores for Turkey. And Misumena having a ton of trouble with this pick, unfortunately. And Chemist just not able to hold on quite long enough at the end of the map. So despite the pop-offs, it does just barely go over to Hong Kong.
Oh, Hong Kong just barely pulling that one out there. Shinkiro, almost the maker of worlds there for them. But that was so unfortunate right at the ending. That score lead just so close. And, you can't make it work every time, unfortunately. But it was the closest they were going to come, I think, on a Hong Kong pick. I don't know where they're going to run now. Maybe they'll start to look towards that DT. Sometimes Nomad 1 is that good breakout point for teams that are mechanically oriented here. We mentioned that last map. Very slider heavy. The ratio of circles to sliders in that map is 344 to 247 for circles to sliders. So generally in maps,
that's pretty high.
You don't see maps that are that close. I guess you could pull up like any other map in the game, and generally sliders to circles, unless it is very slider heavy, I'd say is maybe a 2-to-1 ratio, and this kind of pushes well past that. So they are going to end up going for the Nomad 1 on the side of Turkey. They're going to try it out. The mechanics team, I think they're going to trust in that aim and consistency that they have, and I think it's going to be a good route for them today. Surprised we haven't seen more of Heyroni on their picks today, but maybe he's kind of sitting to the back burner here. We do have Gilrainen for Turkey on this one, which I believe is a very good player you want to have in for a Nomad 1 on this team. But Misumena, really that new player staying in for most maps for Turkey today.
Mitsumena has been in for a lot of maps, I think for good reason. They had a very strong qualifiers run. I think the only map where they really struggled was Hidden 1 in the qualifiers, but their overall performance so far in the World Cup has been very, very solid, particularly on these mechanic sticks. 99.54% full combo on Nomad 1 in qualifiers for Mitsumena from Turkey. So absolutely not surprising that they do pick this up. Even on run 2, which I believe is the run that counted for them, Mitsumena putting up 840k alongside Raikaho with a 920k, Gilran with a 740k, and Eggmembecerms on a 616k. Well, interested to see Shinkiro in for this one, actually. Given that Shinkiro did not play Nomad 1 in either of their runs during the qualifiers, so maybe just a matter of map preference or better practice this week for some of the members over others. But overall, a very solid lineup on Nomad 1 for Turkey. But you can talk about the Nomad 1 run for Turkey. Well, Hong Kong had 3.4 million team score. Dragbit 3, A21, and Shiraha Yuki, extremely solid players on this sort of map. All incredibly good aim players, and Tira as well is a very, very consistent tournament player across a wide variety of skills, especially early on here in round of 32. I definitely have to give credit to this Hong Kong roster. This is a scary team to face on Nomad 1.
I think having played against quite a few of these players in other tournaments and matches before, I don't think I could agree with you more. This is a ridiculously scary Nomad 1 roster that they have put up right now. Dragbit, unfortunately, with a cursor slip on that slider right there. You saw it. He hit the slider right down and it just slipped off, so they lost the slider ball there. Gonna find an early break. Shiraha Yuki's gonna go down as well, but Tira and A21, two players I think that we expected to perform well on this Nomad 1. Gonna be trying to hold it down for Hong Kong. Score lead's gonna stay on the side of Turkey, but it is only 3 FCs to 2 right now. Shinkiro has recovered from that early break. This is a very comfortable map. You can't really expect to see any consistent combos on a Nomad 1 ever, but at 185 BPM and a CS 3.8, I guess this is about as comfortable as you're going to get for, Nomad 1 style maps here. Raikaho doing exactly what we kind of expect him to right now, does finally drop 100, but Mitsumena, again, continuously putting up that performance, and Gilrain as well. Maybe putting that triple FC here. Shinkiro with just that early break is, basically a 4th FC compared to the combos we have on Hong Kong, so we need to see some breaks from Turkey for this to flip back soon, but not from Tira.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not the breaks for Turkey coming through, it's more breaks for Hong Kong. Tira just not able to hold on, and that's a break halfway through the map for Tira as well. Just about the worst place you can try and reset your combo here. It does a big number to your score. There goes Dragbit 3 as well as a second break for Tira right in a row. It's only 821 able to hold on to the FC for Hong Kong. Still 3 FCs, never mind 2 now for Turkey as we find a miss from Gilrain. Raikaho and Mitsumena still holding on to their FCs, and Shinkiro with that reverse choke still on a very solid overall combo. So Shiraha Yuki's supporting combo not quite doing enough to offset that extra score from Shinkiro, and that's where that 400k score lead is coming from, is basically an extra full combo for this Turkey squad.
It really is. Shinkiro, again, negligible difference in that combo right here. 100 at that. A21, the only FC up on Hong Kong right now, and Raikaho is effectively eliminating any chance of that doing anything with the higher accuracy as well. So you either have Shinkiro or Mitsumena, take your pick on who is basically bonus combo right now for Turkey, one or the other. And, when you're Hong Kong and it's Nomad 1, unfortunately anything can happen here. And, you saw the breaks from Dragbit, Tira with the unfortunate over-aim as well, and anything on these Nomad 1s can happen. You see breaks, from round of 32 all the way to grand finals on just unfortunate, stupid stuff in Nomad 1s. And looks like it's going to go the way of Turkey. We said that they were this mechanics-oriented team and that this was a smart pick from them here out of all the options that they had left. And it looks like they knew that it was too. With this 2-man performance here, Shinkiro will find the break into the ending, but regardless, Raikaho with 1 million plus and Mitsumena not going to be too far behind. And another confident point from Turkey here, again, a little bit closer than what the Hong Kong ones have been. Despite this, the match has actually been close as a whole. You've had 2 picks around 500,000 score difference in favor of Turkey for them to win, and then that one that Turkey lost just by under 40,000. So they're hanging right in this with Hong Kong, but they're going to have to be careful after this one now, as Hong Kong has their own pick to force this to match point finally, and that's the point Turkey's got to be careful for.
This is definitely as a spectator, as a caster, how you want these middle seed versus middle seed matchups to go. It's just about as close as it gets, like you said, between these two teams right now. Far closer than what we saw from South Korea and Ukraine, where South Korea really put on the clinic and showed that last year is not going to play into their minds. But this type of map now for Hong Kong, I think, is a very, very good pick as well. Netsuritsu Kangai Wonderland by various artists instead of the long list of VTuber names. Is now the pick up here. Low approach rate hidden, air rate hidden here for these members. And if you know anything about the players that are in right now, you know they're all very solid on low approach rate hidden. I am slightly surprised to see A21 in over some of the other members for Hong Kong that I know are extremely solid low approach rate reading players, especially when A21 did not play low approach rate reading in the qualifying round, but definitely still a very capable player on this type of map, so it's still not all that surprising to see him in, despite, there are a couple other members that you could make an argument for.
Yeah, not half bad as a roster from Hong Kong. I think anything that can slip A21 in for is going to be a map that at least he knows he's confident for. I think, A21 is the closest player that Hong Kong can kind of put up as that all-rounder carry player that they have now, especially losing people like Denier and Chaoslitz from previous years. They really need someone to step up and fill those shoes, and A21, I think, is going to be by far the best player that they're going to kind of put up into that spot. So I think regardless of whether or not he's the strongest reading player on the roster or, for these hidden 2 style maps, especially in a round of 32 stage, I think even players that aren't necessarily comfortable on stuff like this or have it as their main skill set can kind of fill the shoes of some players who, maybe fill the reading category a little bit more. These round of 32 early stage AR8 maps tend to be less on the reading side in terms of difficulty, but not easy by any means. A21 is going to try and make the difference here, but a strong Turkey roster on this as well. Turkey not to be shied away from on these AR8 maps. I think we'll see some accuracy drops as previous, but a lot of aim-oriented AR8 this round.
Yeah, you mentioned it's less so the reading difficulty and more so the awkward aim. We saw all of that grid snapping patterning near the start. We still see a lot of awkward aim in the square jumps in this map. Zephyrex and Shinkiro in particular having a lot of trouble with that on the Turkey roster. Chemist and Egg Membersters also in for this map. Not really any surprises there. They are probably the best reading players on the team for both of them. Egg Membersters, though, having a little bit of trouble with some of the more aim-focused patterns. That linear styling, again, really tough to be snappy on, which is what you really want to be when you're looking at approach rate 8 hidden. And Chemist now dropping on those wide-angle jumps, the sort of polygonal patterning that you get in the Ki times of this map. But meanwhile, 4 full combos still intact for Hong Kong. This is just about as dominant as it gets, and I think a lot of people were questioning why Minecraft 570 is on the Hong Kong roster. Well, this is why he's still hanging in there with all of the other fantastic players on this team. Still on the FC, no problems here on his own skill set, which is that low approach rate reading, those more gimmicky maps that he is so comfortable on.
This is, you could just take a look at the Hong Kong roster as a whole right now. We've talked about them having high accuracy on maps before. This is kind of like okay, never mind. Minecraft 570. Not too happy about that miss. He's still going to be above 99, though. A21 is actually going to be the second one to drop below that 99% accuracy point. He is going to find a miss here. Unfortunately for Turkey, all the misses from Hong Kong right now are for not their combos earlier in the map being dropped so frequently are really going to put them in the rear here. They got a 1,000,000-point difference to make up with. Only a quarter of the map left to go and 2 FCs still being held on Hong Kong. There's not really much that you're going to be able to do about that at this point. These square patterns just too easy to find misses on. Hong Kong gonna again prove to us where their skill set lies. you know, Turkey is a strong mechanically oriented team, but when you crank that AR all the way down to 8, make the circles a little bit bigger, make it feel a little bit more dense, you put in these awkward, you know, linear aim patterns in the squares, and you know, that mechanic starts to fall apart a little bit. It starts to matter a little bit less. Hong Kong, again, you know, year after year, despite roster changes, continuously comes back and shows us that they are a very strong reading team. And despite those 2 breaks from Minecraft 570 and A21, Shirahayuki and Dragbit3 pulling out some very nice accuracy scores. Dragbit with 100, 150. Shirahayuki with 6 100s. That is match point for Hong Kong now.
And I think, again, it speaks to the consistency of this Hong Kong roster at low star rating that even when they do find misses on 2 members, it's still, you know, 640k for Minecraft 570, 666k for A21. Even on the members who do find those misses, they've still got relatively high scores on each individual member. Couple that with the 2 full combos for Dragbit3 and Shirahayuki, and you have a very scary team score overall. Kenneth with a very solid score on Team Turkey, by the way, not to downplay the performance there. 718k, only 1 miss and 4 100s. Very, very solid accuracy for him. But unfortunately, not the consistent team score to back that up from the rest of that Team Turkey roster. And now, it said match point for Hong Kong. It is Turkey's next pick. They do have one more chance to try and earn themselves a point, but they have to win the next pick from Hong Kong alongside their own if they want to try and force this tiebreaker.
Well, if there was ever a time for it to happen in this middle-seeded matchup here, I think round of 32 is the point where we could see it. Unfortunately for Turkey, the only pick of Hong Kong's thus far that they have even come kind of remotely close on was that Nomad 4 pick, and there's not much left like that unless they really go the route of something like Nomad 3 if you really want to stick to that kind of flow aim, but the slider, you know, heaviness is completely down from what you would have there. Turkey's going to go for the double time 3. I think this is a good pick for them in order to get, you know, maybe that 3rd point on the board here, but again, they still have their work cut out for them on Hong Kong's pick after this, and I think that's going to be the difficult point for them. That's where they're going to need to kind of lock it in and try and figure something out there. They have full capability of doing it, but based on the way that Hong Kong has been picking thus far and has been performing on their picks, Turkey's got a long way to go, you know, seemingly left in this match to possibly force that tiebreaker. I think they have it in them to get this 3rd point here, so I think they'll at the very least get to see that match point potential here for that tiebreaker, but I think we'll have to see how this pans out for them first. Not super high BPM on a DT3, it's AR8, 3 minutes long, so a longer map, but a little bit more comfortable. The speed, you know, non-speed players are going to be able to work their way through this a little bit more, which I think is what Turkey's going to have to count on here. They have a decent speed roster, but it's not quite enough, I think, to match Hong Kong's early speed roster as an overall team, which is something that, you know, you want to be careful of, especially, again, on a match point.
Most certainly. You need to really be confident in this pick for Turkey. You need to be able to perform very well on it. I think the one thing, though, that makes this pick in particular a little tricky for this roster from Turkey is the fact that it is that lower BPM. It is that more finger control focused pick. It's only 210 BPM. It's really not that fast, even compared to Nomad 5 or Double Time 2 in this pool, let alone objectively speaking. I mean, Hard Rock 1 is also the same BPM. You can see, however, the finger control, the burst requirements in this map still relatively high. The focus definitely on that finger control and burst control in this map compared to something like the other more finger control, or excuse me, more burst focused picks in Nomad 5 and Double Time 2. The finger control early on, getting the better of both Membestorms and Raikaho actually on the Turkey squad. RLSC with a lot of drops for Hong Kong, but all very early on within the first 150 combo, so really not impacting the overall score that much. These drops, however, from Raikaho and Membestorms really damning the score for Turkey, down in the overall score and down over 100k now as well.
This is not exactly the position Turkey wants to put themselves in at the start of this map here. The score lead is going to fly over to Hong Kong now with 2 FCs to basically what could be considered almost 4 now. You know, RLSC just a little bit behind, but Minecraft 570 finding a break is going to open this up for them again just a little bit, but they need to see 1 or 2 more breaks from Hong Kong. I don't think they're going to be able to see it into the ending here. We've got this slow slider taking up quite a bit of time, and then a pause here before the ending. Unfortunately, Turkey, with 2 of their, you know, I'd say carry players on a map like this, not performing the way they want. You know, we say this map isn't super fast, especially with the finger control. 210 BPM is, you know, you're going to see no mod 5s faster than in the later stages here. But overall, this finger control just absolutely, I mean, Agamember's under-aiming, Raikoho as well. That just didn't go the way of Turkey, unfortunately. And in a round of 32 matchup against Hong Kong, time and time again, you're gonna need to put up that performance. And again, that overall team performance from Hong Kong, absolutely disgusting from them on that. Look at that overall team score. Again, well over 3.4 million, 3.5 million team score from them. And they're going to close out this round of 32 matchup in a 5-2 win over Turkey. Hong Kong proving to us that even despite some massive roster changes, they are loading up here, and they are going to have just as good of a run as they have had in previous years with this roster here. That team performance was something to be reckoned with.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was a very, very dominant closeout, and once again showing that when it comes to the overall team consistency, they are on top of the game right now. Really solid 4-man performances on basically every map from Hong Kong. Even when most of their members miss, they're still above 600-700k. It is a very scary team to go up against on any early stage pool. Even next weekend, when they do face off against the winner of Indonesia versus Mexico, I think that they are likely to give the team that they do end up going against a run for their money. Good luck, however, to Turkey in the losers bracket. They are not out of the tournament yet. They do face off against the loser of that other matchup, Indonesia versus Mexico, next weekend. So good luck to them in that matchup. And that is going to do it for us for now. We are actually going to take about an hour's break. Our next matchup is the United Kingdom versus Singapore, starting at 14 UTC. So we're going to wish good luck to both of those teams. And once again, congratulations to Hong Kong and good luck to Turkey in the losers bracket.